definitely be on the team.
Good morning.
You go first, Toni.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the AltadenaTalks show, the Toni Talks segment on, what is today's date? The 16th of October, 2025. I hope if you were affected by the wildfires, you filed your taxes yesterday by midnight, because that was our deadline. I did not. I always am late, no matter when we have, but hope that all of you did. And I'm going to be jumping off here in a minute and jumping back on from within my car because I have somewhere to be. But I'm Toni Billy Rains. Welcome. Oh, what episode is this? 197. We're three away from 200, y'all.
I know. We're going to be syndicated in about.
And to my lower right, might be the left on the screen, is
BCB and a place to be. I'm going to be jumping off because today's interview is with Willie Williams and Jamal. I thought it was Willie Williams from the police chief, but it's not. It's Willie Williams, the lawyer from
Attorney Willie Williams,
California Association of Black Lawyers. So I'm going to jump on. Tony's going to jump on. Toni, I'm going to let you jump yourself.
Okay, and I'll be back shortly when I get in the car.
Excellent.
We jump offs today.
I don't know if that's what you want to be. So yeah, I'm Jamal Smith, and I absolutely welcome Willie W. Williams.
There you go.
Triple W. Man, welcome to the show.
So you the internet, www.
That's right.
Man, Willie, tell the folks about who you are, your connection to the area, and your basic background, man, for right now.
Yeah, I'll just. So my name is Willie Williams. I grew up in Pasadena. Spent a lot of time in Altadena. Went to Elliott. Before that, Cleveland, and went to Blair. Graduated from there, and went on to college. And I can talk more about that, but definitely connections to the area. I'm third generation Pasadena. My grandparents settled in actually Lake Elsinore. Well, what's now known as Lake Elsinore back in the early part of the century, and the last century, I should say. And they wound up moving to Pasadena and buying a home and having 3 wonderful daughters, including my mother. Grew up on Pepper Street, right down the street from Jackie Robinson, at least my mother did. And close to Mirror, all 3 of her, her and her 2 siblings went to Mirror. My
high school in Pasadena, by the way.
Yeah, Mirror, John. My aunt was the first Black homecoming queen from PCC, actually.
Oh wow!
Pasadena City College, and she went to Cal. Jamal, she went to Cal.
Say it again.
She went to Cal back in Berkeley, back in the day, like back in the 50s, I want to say.
Wow. What was her name?
Juanita was her name. Allen was the last name, her married last name. But that was back in the 50s.
Sure.
Yeah, and so anyway, then my other aunt Barbara wound up being the first graduate of the USC nursing program that was based out of Huntington. She was at Huntington Hospital. She was an RN back in the 50s. So I come from a strong line of Black women who did their thing.
About their business, right?
Yes, absolutely. So
That's really cool.
connections to the city. That's some of them, but I have plenty more.
No, that's perfectly fine, and I appreciate you sharing that information. And just for those who don't know, I actually met Willie a number of years ago. We both worked at JPL for a while. I was there a little longer than him. He was there for a summer in between school, for the summer break. And, he, man, a really good guy, really, really good guy. And so you were at Dartmouth at the time. And what transpired after Dartmouth? And how do, basically you want to level up to where how we got to where we are today.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, we had a wonderful time working together at JPL. We had a lot of fun. We enjoyed just kind of hanging out together and working, together and all that. And it was a good experience for me. I think I actually was there the summer before you started, and then I came back, I think, for a term or something during the winter or something like that. And then before that, I actually worked for Kaiser, right there on Walnut, the headquarters right there. And then, I graduated from Dartmouth. I actually wound up my senior year, the riots occurred, Rodney King situation. And I decided that I would come back to California to do something in the public service sector. So I wound up teaching in Compton. So I came back, taught in Compton with a program called Teach for America, which is a wonderful program. Taught for a couple years in Compton, which was, I always say every day was an adventure. Every day was an adventure because you weren't just teaching them, you were, on certain days playing nurse, psychologist, dad, mom, too. You had multiple roles, but they were definitely fulfilling. It was a challenging environment. Riots just occurred. A lot of stuff was burnt down around us. But I felt a need to come back and do community service and do something that I felt was impactful. And I had a wonderful experience, challenging experience as well, connecting with students. And then, some students, turn around and do well, and then other students don't. And then you hear all these stories about what's going on in the neighborhood. You come to school one day, you see a dead body on the playground. I mean, it was just all kinds of things in Compton. So you just, like I said, every day was an adventure. And then I went on to getting a job at UCLA for a year, which was a very rewarding experience. I wound up doing what we call, it was early stages of distance learning. We were trying to figure out ways to get all the teachers in LA Unified School District together without having them physically in the same place. So we were trying to do Zoom before Zoom was there. The technology just wasn't there at the school sites.
So what do you guys use at that time?
Well, what we wound up doing, we got a grant from Citibank. And so one of the things that, what they were doing was essentially asking us to explore different ways we can conduct business with teachers, teacher training at that point. And so we wound up, the best method that we could find wound up being really a television show where people can call in, because it just wasn't, the technology just wasn't there. And, because of bandwidth and, all kinds of things. But we tried different things. And so that was my, kind of role there at UCLA. That was one of my roles, I should say. And so we wound up doing a television show. I became a television producer, produced a television show, because LA County has a sort of a free cable access channel. And so, I wound up producing the show on there. And it was an interesting experience. Wasn't expecting that when I started.
Yeah, man. That's a surprising path that you took.
That's funny that you took the public access channels, because that's what I was using back in '89 to promote parties. We had a public access channel, and we would have the artists come on and do a little snippet, and that's how we blew up out in Hacienda Heights. Don't be knocking those public access channels and 56K modems. I know what you're talking about.
It was awesome. So that was early on, and it's just kind of funny when distance learning became a thing. I was like, I used to try to work on that.
You were a pioneer. That's dope.
Make me feel old, but
you're crazy.
But
No,
anyway,
it's
then I
called
wound up-
season, man. We not old. We seasoned.
That's right. Season well.
Yeah, use that word.
Good ribs. And so then I wound up going to law school and actually continued a little bit of my teaching while I was in law school. I had a class, a high school class that I taught in what we call street law, which, I mean, it's not called that anymore, but basically we educate students on basic principles of law, consumer law, family law, just basic stuff, constitutional law. And then then after that, I wound up working for a really large firm and then another firm in Baltimore. I got married and wound up, staying in Maryland for a while. Then I came back out here after me and my wife divorced. And then I wound up working for another firm out here and then started my own firm in 2007. So I started my firm 2007 out in Rancho Cucamonga, decided to resituate in the IE. So that worked out for me. Wound up settling down, having 2 kids, the rest is history. I mean, definitely I've done a lot of community service stuff around here, but we can talk about that separately. But yeah, that's kind of where I am now. So I've had my own firm for about 18 years now, I think. Yeah.
And what was the type of law that you practice again?
I practice business, real estate, and employment disputes. So I do a lot of litigation, and that's the primary focus. So litigation in those different areas. So in employment, they could be discrimination claims or harassment claims or wage claims. And then business, just a really wide variety. And then real estate, same thing. I do quite a bit of, it's pretty diverse in terms of the stuff that I handle in real estate now. All
right. So what were your thoughts about the fires? I mean, like, how did you hear about it? You have some relatives, close, obviously we all have close friends that were affected, but how did you hear about it? What's your take on what happened?
Yeah, it was a hard time for me, just seeing a lot of what I saw. Matter of fact, I was actually supposed to meet with the client about a real estate dispute, and I actually needed to go and see the property because it was a boundary dispute. Mm-hmm. I just needed to go out there, and I was supposed to go out there the next day. So it started on the evening, I guess on the 6th, and then on the 7th, I was set up to meet with my client, and that night I saw that there was a fire, but it was in Eden County. I thought it was kind of self-contained. I didn't think of it as being what it turned out to be. Although I did know, because here where I am in Rancho, we get a lot of wind, we get really high winds because I'm close. I'm above the 210, so like it's windy up here. Mm-hmm. And I was getting winds, but I did not associate it with Pasadena getting winds, because you guys don't get winds, or Altadena getting winds, because I don't get winds. I mean, you guys don't get winds the same way we do.
Right.
And so I was set to meet with him, and he sent me an email, that night, and it was like, oh, well, maybe we should postpone it because, the fires. And I was looking at it, and I was thinking it was just, not a big fire, because, I've seen
everybody
fires, usually contained to the hillside. And then when I heard, I just didn't think it was a big fire. And then as the night grew on, I saw it was getting bigger, but I just didn't think of the impact until the morning of was when it really hit me, because I started getting text messages from people checking in. I started checking in with people I knew, and it just went from a kind of a marginal concern to top of the list. It was I was working. I couldn't work. I had to go home. Just because I was getting inundated with people telling me about their situations, or family members saying, oh, well, such and such's house burned down, or this person's house. I was like, what? It went all the way from there to the main part of Altadena. Mm-hmm. It happened so quickly. It it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and yeah, and so I probably all said and done, probably about 30 plus, friends of mine were affected, and it was hard for me not to watch the news, but then it was hard for me to watch the news, both at the same time, because I wanted to know what was going on. And then they were right across the street from my, my middle school or junior high school, Elliott. And so then that caught on fire eventually. And then they were reporting from corners I knew. I'm like, oh, that's where such and such lives. This is where this person lives. Like I could tell exactly where they were. And it was just hard because I was like, oh, this is this person, like it was really personal. And then, like, for instance, my mom used to go to the senior center up there. I used to go to that library up in Mariposa, and it just was hard just watching it. Yeah. So a lot of personal impact. Yeah.
So you being a lawyer and dealing with real estate, or were you going to say something, B?
No, I'm back in the show. I just
cool.
did everything I could do.
Back on the floor.
Behind the scenes.
No, I'm glad. So what is it that you thought about doing, related to your law profession and helping the folks out in Pasadena or Altadena area?
Yeah, so it was an immediate response on my part, like thinking about what I could do. And some of it was immediate because people were calling me just family plans, calling me, like, hey, what can we do? And I was just like, I've done insurance coverage work before, but I was saying it begins with insurance, but I don't, really do it a lot. I've done it really for corporations, back when I was practicing at law firms, but I've done some individual, housing issues, but not on a mass scale like this. But I was like, I was giving basic advice out, what that dwarfed into, because we had a board meeting for Cabl, for the California Association of Black Lawyers, and I really said we got to do something, and I was trying to explain to people who weren't as familiar with the geography. I was like, there's a lot of Black homeowners in Altadena, probably one of the highest percentage in the country, Black owners. I said, this is a catastrophic event. And I was just trying to get them to understand the magnitude of this, and it took them a minute because they were talking about the fires, both, Palisades in there. I'm not saying that we didn't care about Palisades, but I was saying, in terms of Altadena, the importance to Black
more of a connection
is, and the connection, obviously my personal connection, but the magnitude of it in terms of the impact on Black wealth. We had some judges as things started sorting out, over the, next couple of weeks, I was learning more and more about people who had lost their homes. There were several judges, including one of my friends who's a judge, and she's a judge out in Riverside, out this way, but
she's watching.
What's that?
She's watching the show.
Oh, she is. Is this Judge O'Rain? Okay. Judge O'Rain, or which one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell her. All right. Thank you.
You can tell her yourself.
I just did. So anyway, it was a huge impact on on our community. Really, from the judge side, for whatever reason, there weren't as many Black lawyers that were affected, but definitely some Black judges. But it was the community, and so we decided automatically. I took on the lead on this to do something that was going to help out people in the community, and we talked about different avenues, and a lot of charity work was being done. A lot of the
already,
right after clothing drives, the food, and we were trying to figure out how we can make the best impact. And what I came to was people need legal advice. I'm just saying from my personal experience, I was getting calls from family and friends, just like, what should we do? Clients of mine, there were a couple of my clients lost homes, including the gentleman I was going to meet with. He lost his home, completely wiped out. And one of my other clients lost his home. And then, just tons, I told you about 30, I would say 30 plus family members. Not family, friends or they lost either their homes or their family homes, like the homes they grew up in.
Man, I'm glad that you were able to kind of step up and help some folks and whatnot. Well, you said they called you, so you didn't even really initiate it, which kind of happened to one of the builders that we had come on the show. When the fires happened, a couple people called him directly and was like, "Yo, you're gonna help build my house back." Not a question. Yeah, it's a demand, and that's good though, because that proves in my eye that you know what you're doing, you're effective, and people trust you, which is really, really cool. But then you said you expanded it and went to Cabl, and you said the California Association of Black Lawyers. Can you give us a little background about what that is, and then maybe expound on what you guys are doing right now?
What we're doing? Okay, yeah, definitely. So first of all, California Association of Black Lawyers is a statewide organization, and it's an umbrella organization for multiple African American led bar associations throughout the state. So there's one in Los Angeles called Langston. There's one out here called the Richard T. Fields Bar Association, which is in Inland Empire. There's one up in the Bay Area. There's San Diego. There's Sacramento. So I think there are about 12 local affiliates, but Cabl is the umbrella organization for all of them. And then Cabl, like the rest of them, are affiliates of the National Bar Association. So that's national Black lawyers, basically, that they've been influential throughout time. But Cabl was established in 1977 by some real legal giants. These folks were, and some of them remain vibrant people to this day who are very influential in the community. One of the founders was Willie Brown, probably the most influential Black politician of, I think, ever in California. Really,
I think you're right.
I would say in state politics. Definitely on national level, but locally, I think that he was one of them. There's a gentleman by the name of Robert Harris, who is a legal giant in the Bay Area, just a dynamic guy who's mentored and helped. He's still active in the organization. Then there's Elihu Harris, who was one of the founders as well. He wound up being mayor of Oakland back in the day. I would say that was about 20 years ago, but an influential politician. And there were some ladies who were strong in the fight too, including Shirley Henderson, who was one of the founders of Cabl, as well as the Black Women Lawyers of Los Angeles. And so, I could tell you more about Cabl, or I could switch into what we're doing.
More about what they do at this juncture in time, and then what you guys are doing for Altadena.
Okay, so I'll just talk more generally, then I'll narrow it down to what we're doing here. And so what Cabl does is there are about 6,000 legal professionals of African descent that we represent. We represent their interests. There's judges, attorneys, students. Law students can join for free. Attorneys, obviously, you got to pay a little something in the game, but you can definitely look at that on the website. And what we do, I guess the major things that we do, we advocate for Black people to be judges. We have a pretty good connection with the appointment secretary, who every year the governor, meets with Cabl, and we go through candidates and things like that. So we advocate for Black judicial candidates. That's one of the really important things that we do. We also have a legislative day where we go in and we advocate for certain bills that we want passed or don't want passed. And luckily, lately we've been on the side of these are things that are good for the Black community. We want them passed, as opposed to being on the negative side, saying that's not good for us. So we do that, and it's a rewarding experience. We just had worked on a bill where descendants of slaves could actually get preference in college admissions. Unfortunately, I just learned yesterday or the day before that it passed, both the Assembly and the Senate, but then the governor didn't sign it. So I don't know whether it's completely dead or whether it's going to be reworked or not. But so that's one of the things we do. We do that throughout the year, but really we focus on a legislative day where we go up there and lobby all day and meet with lawmakers. Another thing we do is we provide continuing legal education to lawyers as well as the community. And it's more focused on, I see my boy Kelvin Dixon on the line. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, everybody tune in. They see your name. Oh, we got to come on there and harass him.
That's right.
That's all good. And so we provide that information to the community. We also provide like legal aid in settings like panels or or like we did with this, and we'll switch over to what we do locally. What we've done. One of the things that, after we kind of brainstormed different things that we could do for the community, we wound up deciding on doing a panel with experts from throughout the state, because we did it virtually. Because I was telling people that, people were kind of scattered right now. It was like right after the fires. I mean, so I think we're going to hit more people if we do it virtually, and people click in from wherever they are. And so that's what we did. So we got some of the top experts in the state on insurance law, third-party coverage. We had a independent adjuster on as well. We had general litigation lawyers, people who focused on fire recovery, like they literally were top people in their fields.
And this panel was for survivors?
Yeah. So what we partnered with a lot of the local Black organizations like Jack and Jill. We partnered with Black Women Lawyers of Los Angeles, 100 Black Men of Los Angeles, the California Lawyers Association, obviously Cabl. We were in the driver's seat, and so we took the leadership in putting everything together. And it was I think it was an excellent panel. I'm a little biased, but we gave the community an opportunity to ask questions, and I thought that was really good. We have volunteered at various clinics. I know me personally, I volunteered at one of the early clinics at First AME. That's my old church. That's my church home. And it was rewarding seeing that First AME had taken such a leadership role in this, and so they put together a clinic. We partnered with the Langston Bar Association and some other bar groups to provide volunteers. We had like 20 plus, maybe 30 lawyers there. And, we were able to do one-on-one consultations. FEMA was there. So it was very rewarding. And I sat down with a couple of people I knew personally,
Sure.
And I wasn't expecting to meet with them, but they came in and they were
pulled you to the side, like, come on, Willie,
come on, sit down at my table.
That's right.
It was rewarding, because I just felt kind of helpless for a while there. I was like, what can we do? And so certainly that, and put it on the panel. We've done other things that partner with, like for instance, the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. Which has been tremendous. I've participated as a volunteer in a couple clinics. We had one on FEMA appeals, so people who were denied claims under FEMA, they needed help appealing it, and we were giving them legal advice on that. And then we have another event coming up that we're partnering with. You can, if you want me to talk about that, I can. It's the core event. It's also
that now. I'll bring up the what we have. So yeah, you can talk about it.
Okay, I'll just say it briefly. It's actually again sponsored by the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, and they're putting together a clinic. It has all the information here. It's at 2333 Lake Avenue.
Different version of it.
Yeah, and so that's going to happen on November 6th. And so I personally will be participating and bringing along whoever is going to come from Cabl as well.
And what's going to actually happen here? This is just free legal aid?
Yeah, it is. It's just, from my understanding, like I said, we're not organizing it. We're just participating in it. It's basically just to have people come in and whatever they need, they can sit down and talk to us one-on-one. And it's a, it sounds similar to what we did at First AME, where people just come in and they ask their legal questions. And then, right after the fires, people were, things were just scattered. They didn't know what to do, and then like one of the gentlemen that I helped, he was probably close to 80, and he actually just escaped by the grace of God, kind of thing, where he was leaving and the tree fell right in front of him. Dang. And being 80 something years, he couldn't get over. And so luckily a good Samaritan, came over and, pulled him over, and helped him get over the tree. So you hear those kind of stories.
No doubt. So for those folks listening, this is preliminary information. We're going to look for more of a flyer so we can share it a little bit more. But the event is actually taking place on Thursday, November 6th. It'll be from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's going to take place at, they're calling it Core Response at 2333 Lake Avenue in Altadena. And again, this is it's a walk-in legal clinic serving the low-income survivors of LA wildfires. Volunteers are going to assist with post-disaster legal issues such as housing, FEMA claims, and insurance. They're needed to conduct the intake, assess.
Yeah, so this is actually to us as lawyers, they're just asking us to participate.
Yep.
And I participated before, and like I said, similar.
So again, for the listeners, we'll have the registration information for you soon. So we're going to look to get that. But dang, Willie, I appreciate all that you have shared thus far. Now, I'm just curious, the panel, you said it was successful. Does it seem like it would make or be a benefit to do another one to kind of see where people are at this juncture in time? Because I know one of the things we did, for example, is we had a builders town hall really early on. It was in March. Most people weren't even ready for it at that point. But the concept was to give people an idea of what is to come and how to be prepared for what is to come in the near future, so that they can see the whole thing and what steps need to be taken. So you guys did that panel early on, and to what you indicate is, people were all over the place in terms of where their minds were, trying to figure out how to navigate the next steps. Would it have made sense, or do you guys have plans to do another panel to kind of help people out at this stage? Or
yeah, we actually are working on what the next step will be in terms of a panel. But one of the things that we are participating in is going to be your event that you guys are putting together. We can talk about that separately, but that is one way that we are going to provide, one-on-one help to the extent that people want that, that venue, because I think that, it's supposed to be more of a celebratory kind of gathering. But if people want to, we'll have some lawyers there.
They're definitely going to want to talk to somebody because of this SCE offering.
Yes.
People are confused. They don't know that I went to one of the in-person events. They forbade me to film as if I was offending my neighbors. You came in from another state or something, and you're going to tell me I can't film something that half the people can't even show up to because there's limited seating. Then you farmed questions out of us so you could come back with the retaliatory offer of nothing more than what you offered before.
Yeah, and, certainly, I'm not an expert on the payout, but that's something that we could put together a panel on.
I'm an expert. I'm gonna tell you, don't go with them. You got to get a lawyer. No, they're not giving renters anything. They're trying to give children less than adults when they are okay. Willie, remember your childhood in Altadena.
Yeah.
It was the best, the greatest. Imagine if you went from 7th grade to 12th grade, going through a pandemic, coming out of a pandemic, and then going into a fight.
Yeah.
It's horrible for them right now. Elliott burned down. So now they had to open up Wilson. Wilson was the enemy. That's like if Muir burned down and we had to go to PHS. Oh, the horror. You know what I'm saying? But the fact is that they're not offering anything. They're just trying to get ahead of the lawyers so they can settle with as many people as they can early. Yeah. And for some people that might be great. Yeah. But like I need enough money to buy a lot. That's the lawsuit that I want to go for.
Yeah.
I need $500,000 or something close to it. I lost a lot of stuff. I've been fighting with FEMA. I could go on. I mean, this is all about you right now, Willie, but I could go on and on and on.
I understand. Everyone's situation, I could like to stress this, everyone's situation is unique. Some people are insured well and covered, so they don't have a lot to fight about necessarily. But then there are people that are in the middle who maybe they could benefit from another $100,000 or $200,000 to get their project underway. Some people are, like for instance, I'm thinking of one of my friends. Her parents were in their 80s or 90s, 90-ish, and they lost their home. Now, does it make sense for them to sit around and wait for a lawsuit and see what happens? Maybe not. I don't know. And then the kids. It depends on what the kids want to do too. Yeah. Jamal, you may know. Do you know Allison Cabl?
Allison who?
Cabl. The Cabl.
Probably the name sounds familiar, but I probably recognize her face more than the name.
Yeah. Okay. The reason why I was saying that because that's one that comes to mind. He grew up in the first city.
Toni is in the same situation. Her parents, Toni, our co-host, her parents are in the 80s. And it's the same situation. If it wasn't for her and her siblings, I don't think her parents would even consider rebuilding.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So everyone has their own sort of unique situation to deal with. And so what I try to do when I do advise people is take more of a holistic, view of it. Yeah. What makes sense for you given where you are in life. I mean, I think that the overall theme is that we want to keep Altadena owned by Altadenans. That's
keep it a town, not some crazy new city that people move to because of gentrification.
Yeah, exactly. We want to remain, to have the integrity of the town stay, the way it is. And I think there are a lot of resources for people to fight, but are they talking about a 4-year fight, and then getting paid at the end? Can you maintain during that 4-year period? So there are a lot of questions that really, I think the answers are more individualized for people. I think that, general talking points are great. Like for instance, Brian, he's like, no, don't take it. I get it. And I understand the fight is the fight. At the end of the day, you'll, probably wind up doing better, but not necessarily everyone's in your situation. But that's one thing, definitely that's come across when I'm talking to people, because I talk to them holistically,
you have to.
Family, you talk about the finance, obviously, what's covered, what's not, and then once you kind of assess the financial situation, are you working now? Are you retired? Do you have the health to do
you have the additional living expense money from the insurance that's going to keep you going for 3 years, maybe 4?
Yeah, are you in the cash crunch right this moment? I don't know. So I tend to be really holistic with people, from not just because they're friends of mine too. You understand? Our extended family.
And it's even worse because you have to be there. You have to be there when they're friends and family.
Yeah. And so, I want to, give them an overall assessment because they've asked me about, all kinds of questions.
We have a question here from Marcus. He asked, what is the average turnaround time for payout after settlement or judgment from a lawsuit?
See, so something like this, I mean, from a litigation standpoint, so what happens, I'll just tell you briefly about it, because I don't do a lot of personal injury claims, but there are many different attorneys. And actually, I've talked to quite a few of them because they know I'm from the area. And so other attorneys that I know from different states have reached out to me either directly or through friends of theirs about, what to do. And so, like, one of the things that, I was disturbed by was, my colleague, Ben Crump, who I met years ago before he was famous and all that, him and his partner, Daryl, when they first started representing Trayvon Martin back in Florida back in the day. I, met them even before that. So I knew them from the National Bar Association. And one of the things that was a little disappointing was the fires were still going on. And I saw he was putting together town halls at churches. Yeah. And I just feel like people need a breather, because the third party litigation is not something that, you can go after right away necessarily. Like you can file, but you're not going to see activity on it. You got to do investigations and things like that. So it takes a long time. And so, what happens is, say there are like 30 attorneys who have filed lawsuits that are very similar. A lot of times what happens is they get consolidated into, which is administratively very difficult. They consolidate them so that the rulings are consistent throughout. And then sometimes they designate a special court. I don't know whether they've done that already. And they consolidate. And that takes, say that takes a year by itself. And then you sit down at the table, start negotiating with Southern California Edison. It sounds like the facts are really good for families who have lost things based on what I know about it. Mm-hmm. But it still takes time to filter through that. Southern California Edison is probably going to wait and see how many people take it, the money that they're offering before they do anything, because they don't want to settle. So that's not coming up anytime soon. And then, so what happens is then eventually, which I think could take a couple years or more, then there's a settlement reached. Most likely there probably would be in a case like this. And then it has to be administered, it has to be approved. And there's a process that once even you get a settlement, it's probably another 6 months before they even start paying out people, So it's a process, I can't put an exact time frame on it, but it's no time soon, because Southern California Edison is trying to get as many people as they can to take the because they said it was going to be in the fall. I, as far as I know, it hasn't gone live yet. I know they were waiting to get input, allegedly, from people. I don't know how real that is, but that's what they were saying.
They were definitely recording the information. They were jotting down every single question. Brian was there, and that's what they were doing. They weren't answering questions. They were just taking questions. And in fact, we had another lawyer on earlier this week who was saying that they might even take the information that that they gathered from you and like kind of keep a little dossier on you, and can potentially, and I say that, utilize that against you in the future if you don't take their claim, or something weird like that.
Yeah, and I will say that so they have two people that are outsiders who are overseeing this process. Mm-hmm. And one of them actually was a professor of mine. I mean, he was a professor at Georgetown when I was there. I didn't actually have him, but his name's Ken Feynman. He's probably the best in the business at doing this. He did the 9/11 fund. I
was about to say that was January 2027, but she corrected herself.
Yeah, she changed it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh,
well, okay. Here's the situation from what I saw in the in-person appearance. They're giving you a year to go with them. However, they haven't released when they're going to start that year. So you figure if they start by December, that's 12 months from now, and that's 1 month before the first trial is set to litigate in 2027. I would look at what they're talking about.
Yeah, I
would still consult.
2026, there's no way. Okay, I see.
2027.
Yeah, 2027. Yeah, there's no way it's going to happen in 2026. And I doubt that it would even happen in January 2027 because Edison's going to prolong this as much as possible. There's a lot of information. I mean, it's one of these cases can't go as quickly as some other ones.
Well, you have everybody suing them. You got the county now suing them. The federal government is suing them. It's like, can we get a turn?
Yeah.
Like, why y'all got to jump in the fray? Like, let us get our just due first. Your money can come later. It's not like you're hurting.
And do you think they'll admit to being wrong?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Do you think they'll ever admit to being wrong, Southern California Edison? Because they haven't.
Well, they won't admit it now, but they'll say, okay, well, if you sign these papers, we give you this money. We're not admitting that we did anything wrong.
Exactly. That's exactly what's going on.
I'm not even talking about the payment. I'm the payout. I'm talking about just in general.
I don't think so. Yeah, because they want to prolong the litigation is for as long as possible. So they're never going to do a public policy.
Yeah, you can look at the Woolsey and the Bobcat file results. They didn't apologize. They just paid it out.
Yeah. I don't believe that they would, just from a legal standpoint. Maybe like years after it's over, it's kind of like the whole Catholic abuse thing. They apologize.
After the fact.
They settled the cases,
Like,
So I mean,
yes, I was the one.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was gonna just say from an administration standpoint, Ken Feynman in terms of the private settlements, or the whatever you want to call them, but the private payouts from Southern California Edison, he is the best in the business, so like he's done this, he's familiar with this. I mean, anyone who handled 9/11, I mean, just come on. I mean, he obviously he's been through it all. That was probably one of the most difficult mass tort situations to manage because of all the underlying emotion, the first responders being hurt. I mean, it was very complicated. And if he got through that without a lot of backlash, which, you always get, people fighting it. But, given that he's involved, I think that, they're on the right track, at least from an administrative standpoint. I'm not saying, he probably has little or no influence over the amounts that Southern California Edison is going to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you want me to answer this one?
Well, yeah, I'll just read the question though. From Marcus Betts, my understanding is if they are found negligent, they'll have to pay back into the disaster fund. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I think they're going to have to. Well, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the disaster fund. So the way it works is that insurers in general have to pay into a pot of money for underinsured claims. So that's part of the FAIR plan. So insurance companies have to do that. Now, in terms of what Edison has to do, right now it's all voluntary. So they don't have to pay, so their own private disaster recovery fund is what we're talking about. So they make the rules.
Okay.
If that's what they're talking about. But in terms of a statewide disaster recovery fund, that's only really administered through the FAIR plan, which the insurance companies have to pay for. And then one of the issues in California in particular is that because of the fires, their contributions are going to have to go up. And then a lot of them are getting out of the business, as you well know, and the state is trying to make them stay by saying, well, Allstate, if you're not going to offer, housing insurance, then our homeowners insurance, then we're not going to let you sell policies on cars and things like that. So that's still a process. I know that they're going to get tagged with some pretty high premiums that they have to pay into the fund.
No, that's going to be the case. Do you anticipate? I mean, now this is just forethought. I mean, foreshadowing, thinking ahead. Because of this, when there is most people have a problem with insurance companies because you spend all these years paying your premiums. With the whole purpose of when I need you, you should be there. And obviously they're not normally, and especially in this particular instance. However, in order to even get a mortgage, you have to have homeowners insurance, right? Do you anticipate anything changing about this in the future in terms of the requirements and what have you, or is that again just a much too big of a conversation to be had?
No, I think structurally, structurally is going to be the same to some degree, because California doesn't want to get in the business of insuring everyone, themselves. Right. That's right, because these disasters, when they come up, the public funds you're talking about, and then who wants to set aside, $50 billion, in a fund for if something happens. So what I anticipate is that they're going to continue to put pressure on insurers, and in terms of regulating them, but they need the insurers. That's the problem, because they want the private insurers to come in and insure, because otherwise, then they're on a fair plan, and then there's always a gap. Like the people that I've dealt with that have fair, the fair plan insurance, they have the largest gaps in terms of coverage versus, damages. So $1 million loss, the fair plan may pay, $500,000 or something like that. I don't know the exact number, but something like that. So you're not going to get 100 cents on the dollar. So those are the situations where, hey, maybe you should look at the Southern California Edison offer if you want to rebuild right away. Because right now you're homeless, you have living expenses, and you want to rebuild. So maybe that's the solution, or maybe if you have kids who are doing well, you can live with them for 3 or 4 years or something while this takes place. You see what I'm saying? So the situation is going to be different. And so I think that the legal analysis is going to be broader, and more holistic, like I'm saying, not just looking at the nuts and bolts of the legal. Because if I'm a lawyer going after third party coverage, like going after Edison for you, I'm not going to give you a holistic approach. I'm just going to say stick with the litigation. It may take a while, but stick with us, because that means that's they're going to get paid out. I'm not saying all the lawyers are like that, but I'm just saying that when you look at bottom line economics, they're going to discourage you from taking an early settlement. And I'm not saying that
is wrong. You just have to assess it.
Right. It's just think about the underlying motives. In terms of where you are.
Okay. Yeah. Well, one thing that we have heard regularly is, hey, speak to a lawyer. Have this for your unique situation. Talk to someone who can actually really evaluate it for you.
Yes.
And that would be the most beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, absolutely. So you want to make sure that whatever advice you're taking is tailored to you as an individual, as opposed to general talking points, because there may be factors that, other people aren't considering. Like, for instance, say, okay, so you're retiring, so you're getting this amount of, okay, well, you can live off your retirement for, some years. You're fine.
Yeah, if you're eating cat food.
let's take it to the end. Let's hold out, and maybe we'll do better. And I mean, there's no guarantee that you'll do better, but because remember, according to what I saw, Southern California Edison is going to pay, essentially your attorney's fees, but it's at a lower rate. But when you have these massive settlements, you're probably giving a third to the attorney. So your overall recovery, your gross, and that's one thing I have to talk to clients about quite a bit when I represent plaintiffs, because your gross may be, $100,000, but then if you have to put in all the expenses of litigating for, a couple years, then not only, are you losing a third of that, but then maybe another $10,000. So, an offer of $50,000 or $60,000 may look a lot more attractive, even though down the line you may get, $100,000 gross, but it's about what you walk away with. And so, I have these conversations with my plaintiffs that I represent. I usually represent plaintiffs on the employment front. And so I sit down and explain to them how the economics are, because, do you want to go along for the ride? Because we can litigate for another year, and they may increase the offer by $20,000 or $30,000. Does that mean you're going to get $20,000 or $30,000 more? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. It may mean that you come out with 10 grand more, but you had to wait another year. And so
people do have to consider all, like you said, all those factors. And then going back to Marcus's question, Sarita had correctly suggested that Marcus was talking about the California wildfire fund when he was asking if they might have to pay back into it.
Yeah, I'm assuming that would probably be part of any kind of reconciliation. I'm assuming, and I don't know for a fact, I'm assuming that the state is gonna, if they have not, I know the county has sued Southern California, and I assume that if the state has not already sued them, that they will for whatever losses they incur, and that could be part of that.
Well, the federal government's suing them. They got in line first.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure there's a lawsuit out there somewhere, but I don't know specifically about that. So I imagine they would, lean on them to pay into the recovery.
Yeah, they doing us like when we used to stand in line at the canteen and people be butting in front of you. Like, hey, man, I've been standing here, man. Hey, man, don't worry about it. I'm just getting a cookie and a taco snack and a fruit punch. Get up out of my face.
You went to Elliott or Wilson?
Right, Muir.
No, I'm talking about.
I went to Wilson with the canteen too, but Muir had one too.
Yeah.
But the canteen for Wilson was way in the back of the school. Like, it was almost on campus. You got the class all late trying to get something to eat, man. That was designed for failure.
I remember.
And guess what? Now Elliott is open. All the students for Elliott is now at Wilson.
Yeah. Well, they did that back in your day, though, Brian. They had it was really my brother.
No, what happened was they shut the school down.
Yeah.
Wilson. But we were still in 6th grade, and I was pissed because we wanted to be top of the school. And then the next year, we're going to be the 7th graders, top of school. Then they opened Wilson again. So we had that limbo year where we didn't get to be nothing.
No, I think right before you, my brother was in this class where they all went for 7th grade to McKinley, and then everyone went to Elliott for 8th grade, like everyone throughout the district.
Yeah, I can tell you a year that was 1978.
Wilson, I think, for a couple of years or something.
Yeah, they closed Wilson down, 1977 to 78.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, right in there. Yeah.
Well, we talk about the 70s. I'll be feeling like I'm super old, man. It's 1970.
About who you talk to, you are.
Yeah.
You talk to the kids, they'll be like, "Oh, you old."
Like when Don Cheadle was on with Kevin Hart. And he said, yeah, because I'm 58. He goes, damn. like it wasn't really insulting, but it's just a shock to see. But told Kevin, hey, when you get to be 58 like ourselves, you better hope you look like this. I don't know.
That's right.
Them youngsters, we used to talk smack about older people because at 50 to us at 19, 20, they were hunchback, walking on walkers, and I was afraid. I was literally afraid that I was going to, that's where our lifespan is. You're old at 50.
Mm-hmm.
Now I feel like 35 on certain days, but like today I feel 62 because my leg was going to sleep. You got to shake a leg. That's what I mean, shake a leg.
I know life changes.
Definitely does. Hey, I have a quick question about some of the topics that people meet with you with. I know insurance has got to be one of the top ones, right? Obviously.
Yeah, that's number
but
one.
then
FEMA.
talk about like title, like, because there are a lot of people who have had their homes passed down generation after generation, but they didn't correctly update the title and all that kind of thing. What are you seeing in that realm? And what are your suggestions for people who are in that situation?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of us, particularly Black folks. A lot of times we don't do the correct sort of family, planning piece, unfortunately. And then, grandma passes, and then, auntie moves into the house and never changes the title and just lives there for, 20 years, and no one even knows that she's not even on the title. And then until something happens, no one really pays attention to it, And so those are, what we call quiet title actions. those are things that I do handle things like that, in terms of quiet title actions, to sort of clarify the title, because the courts will retain jurisdiction. A lot of them, there's statute of limitations or whatever, but with real property, they want to settle it and make sure that, the title's clean so they can move on to the next step. So it could be cumbersome because a lot of times the records aren't there. Some of the people lost their records in the fires. So the records are not good. But those are the type of claims that could arise, or sometimes it could be, a married couple. One has, stepchildren, but then the mother or father's gone, and then, it goes to probate. Maybe, that's a possibility as well. Probate, or sometimes it could be what we call a partition action. Sometimes it could just be what we call a quiet title action, meaning that here court, there's a lot of inconsistencies with the title. We need to present whatever we have in terms of evidence, and we want you to clear the title so that it can be transferred as necessary or cleared.
You have a lot of people that you're talking to in this situation thus far?
Luckily, not as much, but I have heard a couple people talk about it. I've probably only really fielded maybe one or two questions about it. But it's just like, it depends on the facts and what's going on. Sometimes there's a simple remedy, like for instance, maybe when the spouse died, they just never filed the paperwork with the county to say that the spouse died and provide a death certificate or something like that. And that could be a simple remedy, automatically, because, then in those situations, the surviving spouse automatically gets the property, but they didn't file the paperwork. They got to do that to clear it. And so sometimes that's a pretty simple remedy, but some people have way more complicated situations, and all of them are going to be unique.
No doubt. So to be cognizant of your time, we're at a little over an hour, right? Okay. So, and I mean, if you have to go, please, let us know. If you want to stay a while, that's perfectly fine. Like Toni had told you, we have organic conversations. They kind of go where they are. But again, just want to be aware of your time. So if you do need to go, let me know. But regardless, I want to talk about, hey, if someone wants to reach out to you, or if they need some help, do you suggest they reach out to you or to Cabl, or, if they, like what you said and they want to continue a conversation, what would you suggest that they do?
Okay, so I would suggest that they can contact me and I can funnel them to the right person. Like, for instance, if they're interested in the third-party litigation, meaning against Assn or something else, then, I may not be the best person to talk to, but I have the resources. I know some of the people who are doing the work. I'm fine with steering them in the right direction. Also for the other issues, like in terms of property, title, and things like that, they can come to me directly. I mean, I can give you my number. You want to put it in the chat, or
yeah, go ahead and just say it. I'm ready to go.
Is it the one? Is it this one?
Yeah, that's it. And
my bad, Jamal. I thought I was about to jump. He's already prepared, like pepper spray.
All got it. So yes, www.Willie Williams, and it's Willie's with an IE, Williams with an S, law.com, and then the phone number is area code 909-581-8341. And so you can call that number and just say, you want to chat about whatever it is. And I'm fine with giving an initial consultation to anyone just to, talk to them. And particularly because, I've been so personally affected by the fires that I've been, pretty generous with my time, talking to people. And if they really want me to, do something from a legal standpoint, I would charge them, in terms of moving forward or something. But, they just want to talk through it, and, I can put them in the right hands, or I can handle it.
Consultation, for example, you're willing to talk to them, figure out what their needs are, and then make an assessment from there.
Yeah, in general, and just kind of steer them in the right direction. Mm-hmm. But if they want me, like, let me just give you an example, just so you understand. If they want me to review a whole bunch of documents, relating to their title and stuff like that, I would have to charge for that, but if they just want to talk to me generally about the situation, it's more about, this is something I can help you out. Or if there's a really simple fix to it, like for instance, they're having a problem with their insurance company and then they tell me X and I tell them, well, there's a statute that says that they have to do this, try writing them a letter or, emailing them, you know what I mean? So if it's a simple fix like that, then, I could potentially just help them and, they wouldn't, I wouldn't charge them. But to the extent that, or for instance, they want to talk about the Southern California Edison payouts. See, it's not final yet. So, at some point I may be in a situation where I could help them out, on something like that, advising them through it. And like I said, I always take a holistic approach. But in terms of direct litigation, some of the chain of custody chain of ownership and things like that are title, then those are things I could help them out with.
That's what we want to know. So if you have some questions, folks, you can reach out to Willie at his law office or via the website or call the number. You can just share what your situation is. Then you can assess, or he'll assess after that whether he's going to pass you on to someone else, meaning refer you on to someone else because they're better expertise, or if it's something you can do, you guys can talk about, going a little bit more in depth and you becoming his client and moving forward. So kind of moving forward, you kind of had mentioned this as well. This is our day of thanks. It's the, our community luncheon happening on the 22nd of November. You are definitely going to be there, and will any other members of Cabl be there too, do you think?
Yeah, so let me say a couple things. The first thing is that I've talked to our president, and we have some money earmarked already for some of these community engagements. And so we are going to sponsor the $1,000 level. You can tell Toni that. I don't think I gave her a number yet, but I got confirmation that we'll sponsor the $1,000 level to help out with the booth there. And then we'll be there in person. I definitely will be there. I'm likely to bring a couple other attorneys with me. We were just kind of waiting for the details to be finalized. And we'll also promote the event to our circles as well. In terms of, I know that, I heard Toni yesterday. This is for folks in Altadena who are directly impacted.
Absolutely.
I heard that yesterday. I was listening for a little bit just to get a better vibe.
It's mostly for, if you lost your home, if you can't get back in your home because of smoke damage. There are a few in Pasadena and Sierra Madre that do qualify because she does verify addresses.
So I already
So, and if she was on here, she'll be telling you.
She gonna call your name out and she gonna remove you. You don't play.
You're not gonna slip through the cracks. Yeah, here's the problem though. Unlike what we're doing, there's a lot of events. Like we had Tiffany Haddish came here and did a grocery giveaway, but it wasn't organized. You had 3,000 people out there. They were only going to give up to, I don't know, the guy was spending $150,000 on groceries, so he figured he'd give you a $150 voucher. Well, if you would have went through the line and just gave the vouchers, it wouldn't have mattered if people waited in line, but you didn't do that. And there was a lot of chaos, and there's a lot of seniors out there, and so we didn't want this to turn into that type of fiasco. So if you got seniors and kids, we're going to seat you first because of the fact that we don't want you standing up out there. That's disrespectful to our elders. And, since we do come from a small town, we grew up getting butt whoopings from the neighbors. So, we respecting our elders.
And it was perfectly fine. You kind of You get it from the neighbor, then your parents, and then you get it from grandparents. You're gonna get it from them too.
Yeah, we're like the last great town to do something like that, where the neighbors actually looked out for you. Now you got the people that like us that lived there since birth, damn near. I came at 8 years old. You got people that have lived there for 25 years. You got people living there 10 years, and people just moved there in the last 5 years. So they don't really know the history of Altadena like we know it, and even our parents know it. You get those stories from them. Before the 210 even came through, that area was a thriving Black neighborhood. And, what do they call that? Eminent domain comes and takes over. And it's funny how they could do that to the 210, but that 710 been sitting there in limbo for 50 years.
I know. I tell people that story because I was like, okay, all of a sudden it just stopped,
Yeah.
We went through the Black community. Yeah. So my mother was, to her death was always bitter about what happened because that 210 wiped out her neighborhood because she grew up, like I told you, Pepper, like Washington, Lincoln area, and there were quite a few Black people just destroyed
that whole path from Windsor all the way over the mountain.
Yeah, it was bad, and she held on to that till she passed. Like really, she just.
Hey, it's a hard pill to swallow when you busted your butt to get to buy that house, and here come the government. We got to put a freeway through.
Right, exactly, and luckily their home was spared because they were about a block away from it. So just barely spared.
Yeah, but if you look at that part where Casitas runs along the freeway by Muir,
yeah,
those houses on the other side are so crunched up against the freeway. It's like crazy. Like,
yeah. Well, it's interesting too. Like right in my neighborhood, the neighborhood I grew up on, there definitely was a divide from one side of the 210 to the other. So right over there, you get the part that's closer to the Rose Bowl, and the property value is significantly higher than on the other side of the freeway, which is where I physically grew up. I grew up on the other side of 210, which
but see, nobody was thinking about rich or poor because we all went to the same school.
Yeah,
so and we're gonna go over your rich friends' houses. We're gonna go over, but we still got our house to go home to. So. Yeah, he had the Atari. I don't go over his house because he had the Atari.
Or in television. Yeah.
Right. Any of them. Just like my father was like, I'm not buying none of that. You want a computer for learning. I'm like, okay.
So Willie, do you have any takeaways for folks when it comes to their situation now, as well as once they've recovered related to law, and the folks in the cable network?
Yeah, I was just gonna say in general, I think that most people should consult with an attorney at some point. And the first line is really your insurance company. Making sure that you've exhausted what you can do with them. There are lots of ways, which we didn't really go into all the details, that you can document some of the things that happen. Obviously, with a situation like this, where it's so totally unexpected, it's hard to put together things, but the insurance companies will cut you a little bit of grace, on that, where if you do an inventory, like some people even, we're looking at family pictures from Thanksgiving just to document, okay, we had this really nice credenza, we had this, or, whatever table and things like that people normally wouldn't keep receipts on. And so there is a little grace depending on your insurance company for things like that. But anyway, the first line is going to be insurance and FEMA. Certainly for the short term, FEMA is pretty much exhausted at this point. The first, the round, unless you applied and were denied, you can still appeal that. So
right.
I'm the king of that. I've appealed 4 times, and each time they gave me more money. But I have I am an advocate of constantly taking pictures and videos inside the house, inside the office, in the backyard, and all that. So I had a lot of documentation. And I just keep piecemealing it to them because they keep doing me. So, most of the time I send the same stuff back because you're going to get Okay, you remember the loan modification scenarios back in 2009 where you sent your statements in 2 months later, they had a whole different turnover of consultants, so you had to send them in again? That's what's happening with FEMA. You're not going to get the same person. I was on hold for FEMA for housing for 2 hours and got transferred to 3 different people. And the last lady sounded like my grandmother, just perturbed the fact that she had to talk to me. And I didn't never even get approval because she just hung up after 2 hours, and that was that. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. Finally, I sent another appeal back.
Yeah.
It's
a landscape, and certainly, attorneys can get involved, in different aspects of it, and then some of the ones. I mean, you do have to be a little careful because some of the attorneys who are doing what I call third-party claims, going against Edison, which is really the primary target. There could be other ones out there as well. They have their interest in, resolving it around Edison, not necessarily about what's best for you and your building. And I'm not disparaging an attorney because everyone's going to be different. And it depends on your individual situation as to whether that makes sense for you to do it or not, so it's pretty unique for everyone who, has a situation.
Now, Willie, let me ask you this question. We know Southern California Edison is on the hook, but no one's talking about the gas company. And from what I saw from a lot of the people that I talked to, and even went back up to my own neighborhood, I've never seen fires like they destroy out from the outside, but they leave structures. When like say your water heater got to the point where the flame was just too hot or the heat was too hot and it busted that pipe off of that water heater and now the gas is just spewing. And they didn't turn off gas lines because what I'm told, from what I've been told, you can't turn off gas lines because the pressure would build up. So you got to let them stay on. In fact, they don't even recommend you turning them off at your house, even though that was the wise thing to do for some people because it saved their house. But other people, that gas is going on inside. In fact, I think the only thing that's survived from our house was the ceramic tiles in my crock pot. That was it. Because they were born in the fire.
Right.
But other than that, everything was just like ash. Do you think that might be something that they might look into?
Yeah, certainly so. But, it's one of these things where that just makes the litigation framework even more complicated. Like, say, for instance, everyone does go after Southern California gas or SoCal gas. Then what SoCal gas is going to do is say, well, Southern California Edison is the one who started. They're the main culprit. We're going to sue Southern California Edison now. So
that's fine. They can sue all they want as long as we get to sue them.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
I'm not aware of sort of a more universal answer to that. I think it probably would depend on, what happened in your particular situation. Was the gas a factor in your house burning down? So it could be. I don't know. Yeah, that's something I haven't really looked into and not heard much about. But there, a lot of people are going to be blaming a lot of people. Like, for instance, Southern California Edison, they may be blaming their third-party contractor who was supposed to take down the pole, 20 years ago.
Come on.
Well, that and they claim, there was the conspiracy theories going around that the smart meters inside your house started the fire. Definitely propane tanks blew up, but then when you saw the first toxic removal of debris, all the propane tanks were at the edge of the street.
Right.
Not one of them blew up. So,
Yeah, so there are all kinds of different. So that's why I generically refer to them as third-party claims. So anyone that you believe that contributed to the fire at your home, you can talk to an attorney who specializes in the third-party coverage because they'll look at everything, I'm sure. Now, obviously, the big fish is going to be Edison, and they may just sue Edison and let Edison sue these other people who they think, contributed to it, or vice versa. Like, for instance, like I said, if you sue Southern California Gas, they're probably going to sue Edison.
Everybody's suing everybody.
Yeah, they're trying to point the finger. They don't want the blame all on them.
Now, just by coincidence, I actually know one of my clients actually used to work for Southern California Edison for years. He was what you call a trouble man. So he knows all about the lines and all that stuff. But he was just saying that there are a lot of them that are dead lines that are just sitting out there, and they do pose a hazard, but they've been doing that for years. They're just sitting out there, and when the wrong situation occurs, then they are susceptible to igniting the fire. But Edison has never made the effort to clear it up. I'm sure that's in the law.
You can leave them there, just snip the lines off of them, so that because I know it's going to take a lot of work to dig that foundation of that pole up.
He didn't believe that was that big of an effort, or for Edison to do what he was explaining.
Oh, they doing it now.
Yeah, they pay attention now for sure.
Oh yeah. But hopefully, they'll learn from this tremendous mistake. Hopefully they'll at some point. But he was just saying that he had concerns, way back from whenever, the same.
Oh, he was saying this well before the fires happened.
Oh yeah, this is yeah.
Oh wow.
Well before. He was just saying that, he said probably that pole out there had been sitting there for 20 years, and it should have been removed. And that may not have been a source of the fire, because he was saying that I guess there was a live one by the one that wasn't,
Yeah, they kind of run parallel when they build them. They build them like right next to each other. You see that all the time.
Yeah, and I think he was saying that the one of them should have been cleared away. They weren't using it, and that helped to sort of
the 1962 lines.
Yeah, and I don't know. He gave a more technical explanation than I'm not doing it justice.
If they decommissioned it in 1971, those lines had to have been at least 1930, 1940 that they were built.
Yeah, and I don't know the dates, but he had mentioned that a lot of times that they just don't clear it out when they're not using it, and that adds fuel to the fire. And so
it sounds like when we used to replace servers and we didn't remove the old ones, we just left them there because they were big behemoth what do you call them, paperweights, and that wasn't our job to get rid of it. Our job was to upgrade it to the new one. So exactly. And it's funny because we got two racks. Here's the rack with the old one, here's the rack with the new one, and we just migrate everything over and leave that one there.
Yeah. That's kind of what he was explaining to me, but like I said, he did it in much better terms and explained it, but more technical. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. I got to speak in layman's terms. No one understands me.
Well, Willie, we definitely thank you for your time, man. You provided some real good information. Hopefully, you come back on again. We also thank Cabl for the donation to our Day of Thanks. And look forward to having you there, so you can actually talk to some folks if they have some questions, and to enjoy yourselves as well, because it should be a real good time. We're looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the party is going to be packed.
Thanks for having me, Jamal and Brian. It's good to see you online, Jamal. It's been a long time.
Well, we got to definitely get together in person, man. I look forward to that.
Definitely. Well, I'll definitely see you out there on the 22nd of November. And I'll give Toni an update in terms of who we'll bring out, or maybe both of you guys, or whatever, however you guys want to handle it. But we're looking forward to it, and we have a board meeting coming up, I think, in a couple weeks, and we'll be able to, talk to other board members who may want to, be available.
Ooh. Yeah. Maybe we can have you come back on with some members of Cabl, and we can specifically just talk about that and what you guys are, doing.
That sounds great. That sounds great to me. So I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for having me. Appreciate the invitation, Jamal and Brian. Nice meeting you as well. And tell Toni, my condolences. But at this point, I didn't get to interview with her too, because
well, don't worry, we'll bring her back on, because we gave you the light version.
Yeah, we're easy. She'll dig in and really get to the nitty gritty. But folks, this is Willie Williams from the Willie Williams Law Firm. If you want to reach out to him, you can reach out 909-581-8341. Again, Willie,
You know, Willie, if you had a show and you called it the Willie Williams Show, it'd blow up because everybody would think it was the Wendy Williams Show. So, no, I'm a marketing guru when it comes to this. I like to play on what's already there that's popular. So whenever you want to do that show, just think of Star Click Media as your producers.
Okay.
Shameless plug.
I'll keep that in mind. Okay.
You know, that's me and Jamal Star Click Media.
I appreciate it. And it was a pleasure spending some time with you guys. Yeah, I do appreciate it.
Thank you, bro. You have a great day.
You have a good one too. Okay. Okay.
Yep. So you take care.
Back to my legal world.
Exactly.
How fun.
Take it easy, bro.
All right. So you're going to jump right into the Announcemundos.
I can definitely do that.
I make up my own Spanish words, by the way, people. So if it didn't make sense to you, don't make a big deal out of it. Yeah.
And Willie, just a heads up. Oh, he finally logged off. So I'm just gonna let him know. Yeah, he can log off or not. All right, so I'll go ahead and do the slides, and we'll move on. Here we go. All right, everybody, we're gonna move forward. We're gonna go to Altadena Community Center. It is available at 730 East Altadena Drive, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4:30. Get this banner out of the way. Okay. Cool. And remember, tomorrow is the last day for the in-person services from FEMA. Now, they're still accessible. You just have to reach out to them independently. So definitely, if you need to talk to FEMA, go now through tomorrow so that you can actually catch up with them there. And then we have the LA County One-Stop Permit Center. They're at 464 West Woodbury Road, Suite 210. You can walk in Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30. And you can also set up a rebuilding consultation appointment Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8:30 to 12:30, as well as Saturdays from 8 a.m. to noon. You can also set up Southern California Edison planning appointments, and those are available Mondays and Wednesdays from 8 a.m. to noon. Now, in order to set this up, you do have to go to the website, recovery.lacounty.gov/rebuilding/1-stop-permit-centers. And at the very bottom, there's a link for you to go ahead and set up the appointment. And just so you guys know, those dashes are just the headings on the website. So if you go to recovery.lacounty.gov, at the very top in the banner, you're going to see rebuilding. So if you click on that, you'll also see One-Stop Permit Center. So that's just another way you can navigate to where you need to go. And then the LA County is waiving and refunding permit fees for homeowners rebuilding after the Palisades and Eaton fires. Basically, homeowners who've already paid, you can have your fees refunded. Those who haven't paid yet can have them waived. But to qualify, you must demonstrate that you both owned and lived in your property prior to the 7th of January of this year. And also, you have to be doing an eligible project, such as rebuilding your single-family home that was destroyed by either of the fires. That does include accessory structures like garages, pools, and ADUs. Also, standalone ADUs for temporary occupancy during the rebuilding counts. What's not eligible, however, is commercial, rental, multifamily, or temporary housing projects, in addition to those properties that are not damaged by fire. Now, if you do want to actually get a waiver or a refund, scan the QR code on the screen or go to recovery.lacounty.gov/fee-waivers-and-refunds. Once you're there, you can actually fill out the form and you can print up a copy and walk it into one of the offices, or you can include it in an email to recovery@planning.lacounty.gov. Either way, you only need one form for all the departments, so that makes it a lot easier on you. Next is the Cabl Mortgage Fund, where they're providing 3 months of mortgage payments up to a maximum of $20,000 as a form of relief. This never has to be repaid, and it's free to apply. If you do get the grant, the money goes directly to your mortgage servicer and not to you. If you want to do this, you do have to be eligible, and for eligibility requirements, the first one is your primary residence must have been destroyed or considered uninhabitable due to the Eaton or Palisades fire or any other qualified disaster from the 1st of January 2023 through the 8th of January 2025. You also must have owned and occupied the home, and it can be up to 4 units on the property. And lastly, you must meet the combined income limits of $140,700. If you do apply, please be prepared to provide your mortgage statement, proof of income, homeowner's insurance or FEMA claim, your bank statements, or your utility bills. And to actually apply, you would go to the website, calassismortgagefund.org. And if you need help over the phone, you can call 1-800-501-0019, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And if you need some in-person help, you can actually go to one of 2 locations. One is the One Stop Rebuilding Center at 1828 Sawtell Boulevard in LA. The other is the Altadena Community Center, which again is at 730 East Altadena Drive. And they're available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Now, there are support sessions for Eaton fire survivors. So the Dealing with Disaster program supports community members in managing psychologically after disaster, and covers mindfulness exercises, informational instruction, and discussion. Classes are open to everyone on a first-come, first-served basis. It's at Loma Alta Park, which is 3330 North Lincoln Avenue in Altadena, and they are walk-in sessions on Tuesdays from 5 to 6:30, Thursdays from noon to 1:30, and Saturdays from noon to 1:30. And this is all except Veterans Day and Thanksgiving Day, and this is going to go through the end of November, or till November 29th. The folks at the Laundry Truck LA, as we've been mentioning, still have their laundry services available. The next one will be Saturday, and this will be taking place at the South Pasadena San Marino YMCA, which is located at 1605 Garfield Avenue in South Pass. They have their laundry drop-off at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and the next one will be Sunday at First AME Church at 1700 North Raymond Avenue in Pasadena. They also have a drop-off from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Basically, when you do drop off your clothes, you come back in a couple hours and they will have been washed, dried, and folded. It's a great service if you need it. Please take advantage. The folks at Home of King and Queens events, Home and King and Queens actually have their events. The next one on the list will be this Sunday, the 19th, where they'll have a wellness event with free health screenings, resources, and family fun activities. It'll be at 12 p.m. until 2 p.m. and it'll be at the world famous Fair Oaks Burger located at 2560 North Fair Oaks Avenue in Altadena. If you want more information, please send an email to homekings13@gmail.com. And then soil remediation for the LA fires. Free Zoom class is today, beginning at 7 p.m. Sign up is at growrealorganic.com. And then the run for Altadena Town Council is still going on. If you're interested, you can actually submit your application along with the $35 fee, include a one-page statement of qualifications, and the deadline is 5 p.m. tomorrow. To actually get your application, please scan the QR code on the flyer or go to AltadenaTownCouncil.org. And then tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 6:30, put on by Together We Thrive, is the Farmers Market. It is located at 3541 Brandon Street in Pasadena. Brandon. Please go there early because supplies do go quickly, and it is available until supplies run out. Together We Rise is providing a wildfire relief concert starring Roxy Dar, who's an international soprano soloist. It will take place this Saturday, October 18th at 7:30 p.m. at the Langham Huntington in Pasadena. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. If you're interested, please scan the QR code, as every dollar raised will benefit the wildfire relief efforts through Reach Out Worldwide. And then the Alta Arts and Crafts Fair is taking place also Saturday, October 18th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's going to be at the Fraternal Order of Eagles, which is located at 455 East Woodbury Road in Altadena. It's about more than art. It's about rebuilding, reconnecting, and celebrating the heart of our local creative community. Definitely check this out. And then Saturday as well from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Altadena Library, which is at 600 East Mariposa Street in Altadena, is a free community health fair put on by the Nurses Pub. It's Nurses United. It's the Healing Altadena Together. Services offered are free mammograms. You do have to pre-register for that. Blood pressure and glucose checks, health screenings and consultations, wellness resources and giveaways. And for the mammogram eligibility, you must be 40 years old or older. No mammogram within the past 12 months. No current breast health concerns, as well as the need to bring a photo ID to the event. To register, you can go to thenursespub.org/health-fair-2025, or you can scan the QR code. If you have questions or you would like more information, you can call or text 562-537-1646.
Just wait on this one. So remember when we were up at the event up at the library for the Business Expo?
Yes.
And that one lady came by and she was a nurse.
Yes.
This is her thing. And
Okay.
she also, I had a question. I'm like, what about mammograms for men? And I know that sounds funny, but there are a lot of men who are overweight who have extra fat in their chest that they might be getting cancer. So how do you check that? So she said that they will be having male type mammogram exams for men at this event. So she was very adamant about that when she told me. So,
oh, that's good to know. Great point, man. Thank you.
I mean, people, don't be embarrassed. I mean, if you're overweight and you want to find out more about your health, don't be afraid to ask questions, because, you know, that's your only lifeline to survival, is to ask the questions to get the answers that you need to do better. And I'm not talking about anything else but your eating habits and paying attention to your health.
Great point. Definitely. Don't hesitate.
Mm-mm.
All right, and the last one is a great one.
Last but not least.
Absolutely not least. This is our event. I'm going to put up the other QR code. This is the AltadenaTalks Foundation A Day of Thanks Community Luncheon. It will be Saturday, November 22nd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The location will be the Loma Alta Park Gymnasium, which is located at 3330 North Lincoln Avenue in Altadena. Now, this is for Altadena's, for survivors of the Eaton Fire, who had their home either completely destroyed or considered uninhabitable. Absolutely. So this event is free for you, for those folks and your family. So please scan the QR code. If you are looking on your phone and can't scan it, you can go to AltadenaTalks.org/ATF meal sign up. When you get there, you have to put in your information, and we do ask for proof that you actually had an ID with an address in Altadena, and you can black out your sensitive information. But
your actual number.
Yeah, your actual number.
Yeah, your number and your birthday, for that matter. We don't need your birthday.
Yep.
What I'm loving is that space at the bottom is getting more occupants. So we have BZ Build. We got let me see, I'll make this larger. Fat Brands. Victory Bible Church, Just for 66, Homebound, Kendra Mays Designs, Neighborhood Servants, Base Studio, and Fire Aid, who are partners and sponsors. And it should be a great event because we're giving it.
And soon we'll have Cabl, California Association of Black Lawyers. They'll be on.
Right. So we'll have and you know what this means is the more sponsors we have, the more gift cards we can give to families. So this is the reason why we're doing it. So that this is AltadenaTalks Foundation's way of giving back for all those people who have been asking questions about what we're doing for the community.
No, that's not why we're doing this. But for those who are asking,
I'm even talking about money. I'm talking about we've been doing this since January, nonstop. We have not missed a day, Monday through Friday. Even on the holidays, I make sure that I go live.
Yeah, at the very least, Brian is on for sure. We're doing what we can for the community, man. I'm looking forward to this particular event. If we can keep this going through the rebuild, I think this would be really, really cool for it to be an annual thing, you know, until everything is up and running again.
Well, I mean, I'm figuring it's going to take about 4 years for 4 to 5 years for
at least 5 at the minimum.
75% of the homes to be built back. Because we are a unique community. We want to be back here. My fiance's mom is 98. She wants her house built back. She is not playing. She wants it built back. She said, I will stay alive until my house is done. He was mad. You know, that anger make you stay alive longer. I ain't dying.
Hey, I believe her. I think she'll stick around for a while after, but at least until her house is rebuilt. I know she's hot.
Right. Yeah.
That'll be
and
really,
her
really cool. I'm excited that there's going to be so many homes. Well, that so many homes are already in the process of being rebuilt, and many will be, you know, people will have moved in for the holidays. They'll be able to have Christmas dinner, maybe even Thanksgiving. Because that one house, when you guys were doing the video, when they were already putting windows in, that was like a couple of months ago. Shoot.
Are you talking about the cement house?
No. There was another. It was a stick built.
The one around the corner from my house?
I don't remember where exactly it was. It was framed up already. It had the window things. They already were doing the roofing.
The one house right there on Highview and Palm, it'll be done in a couple of months. But they had already had a permit in place to do the ADU. And ironically, they just had completed it about a couple weeks before the fire came.
Damn.
So today's job for me is to go up there and take pictures of the updated homes that we had already reported on, as well as the homes that are still going through their framing and foundation and stuff like that. And the funny thing about all of this is that before January 7th, I knew squat about building, about codes, about Altadena community standards. But by having Toni on the show, just no lie, learned a lot because that woman is like Encyclopedia Brown.
And as much as we clown you for remembering things, she's got an immaculate memory for that kind of stuff, where she remembers all the different laws that are being passed, different things like that, and all the codes and all that.
That's why she gets invited to NCIS screenings, and we are the peons of society.
Well, look, I'm not trying to recall all that stuff, and she has a bigger connection to it because her parents' home.
Right, well, she's at home, but and not only that, she was a veteran, and the show is based. The special was about veterans.
Oh, for that particular event, yeah. But I mean, she's so much more vocal. But I mean, the way she retains it and her attitude, I mean that in the most positive way. She is about getting her point across. She does it in a very effective manner, and is definitely. It's a good thing when people reach out to her. It makes perfect sense because she knows what she's talking about, and that's great. And hopefully she decides to run for town council too.
Well, hopefully she put in. That was yesterday, wasn't it?
Well, she knows. She knows the deadlines.
Special shout out to our Instagram watchers, Coach Idris Jones. Welcome to the show. I am Benatia, a good friend of mine who owns her own bank and is a developer out in Texas. She keeps telling me I need to come by out there. I don't know about Texas. I like oceans, not lakes. Yeah. But hey, I'm not knocking it. She's doing big things out there. So yeah, Logan Amir, welcome to the show. Captain J, that's EJ, Captain EJ from Atlanta.
What's up, EJ?
Smack Your Auntie joined. Red Cup 1972. And the classic ass, Smack Your Auntie. That is so funny. Smack Your Auntie. Hey, Auntie.
They have that hot sauce, Smack Your Mama.
I like that, Smack Your Auntie. SMACC, smack. Maybe like smack.
With some emphasis.
Well, I mean, it's starting to get easier to go for 2 hours now. It's like crazy.
Well, we were doing that pretty much almost every other day there for a while at the beginning.
I mean, I love when the guests have time because people actually come on here to see the guests. They ain't coming on here. I know y'all not coming on here to see me.
They might be maybe to see you because at least you talk more. I'm you and Toni because I'm in the background just like.
When you do these interviews, you're talking, bro. So they ain't.
Well, like I said, I try to ask a few questions and let the folks talk. They very effective, and it was really, really for you folks. Willie was a real cool dude. I didn't get a chance to hang out with him as a long time, but when we met at JPL, we kind of bonded. And he's real cool dude, very, very cool dude, and super smart. Super smart. I know he was some special award winner when he was at Dartmouth. I mean, how many people do you know go to Ivy League schools? And
right.
Was there and then, did all kind of great stuff. And he didn't talk about his accolades while he was there at each level of school. He was working on the newspaper, or he had special publications he worked on. He was part of organizations and president of this and vice president of that, and all kind of different stuff. So and he knows his law, very helpful in the community. Definitely wanted to give back. So it's really good, very, very good to have him on. So it's that lunchtime. What you gonna do today?
I don't know.
You gonna do Asian?
I want to try something new, man. Everywhere else, I've already been to these places 10 times.
Well, I mean, that's the downfall of being in Old Town. You got no choice but to go to that little select few. There's an Indian restaurant down the street on
I have never had Indian food in my life.
Really?
No.
Well, there it is. It's on Farrow.
No, I'm gonna go with y'all when y'all can recommend what to get, because I'm not trying nothing that might be a butt burner later. I ain't doing it.
No, you've had curry before.
I've had Earl stuff.
No, they got curry. You can look at it, and they got listed out and everything. That's a safe one. Or chicken tandoori, which is just barbecue. That's their word for barbecue.
You just gave me where I'm going.
Where?
Eldorado Pollo a la Brasas. For the rotisserie. I know it's a place I eat all the time. But they're not open on Tuesdays, and that's when I want to go there every time on a Tuesday.
Right.
On a Tuesday.
Well, I didn't pick up my jacket, so I'm going to actually do that today. And,
I didn't go. I was supposed to go downtown. Now, you know what? You know what happens when you go to those events. You ain't got time to put aside to come back on the show.
Oh, she was going to call in the car.
She probably was running late.
Yeah, it's all good. All right, well, I'm going to go get the jacket today. And I don't know. I'm going to ask wifey what she wants to eat. See if she wants to get some fiddles.
Yeah, I think that chicken is calling my name, like Pookie on New Jack City. He keeps calling me, man. He keeps calling me. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us every day, Monday through Friday. 197. Wow.
A couple more, 3 more.
Remember we were bragging on 10. Sorry, 10 episodes.
I wasn't even counting until we got to like 20 because we were just kind of doing it, winging it, figuring out the technology in the background.
Yeah.
We got it kind of down now.
Yes, it's amazing the growth, the advancement of this show. It's looking all professional now. And I can't wait to excitingly announce once we drop this one big giant thing that we've been talking about. I'm not going to say anything about it until it happens. But it's going to happen. I think we'll be debuting this in January. This will be our media expansion project. We've been working on this for some months now. And,
But you're not going to mention it, huh?
I always do that.
Oh,
I always do that.
I'm not going to mention it until it drops.
I'm like that kid that can't keep a secret at Christmas. I know what you got, Tanya. I know what you got, Chris. You got the remote control car. And my brother would get mad. Why are you telling me? Because that's what I do. He would get all mad. He wouldn't be surprised. I think we only celebrated Christmas 2 times. And that was in Altadena. That's when my mom went on strike from Jehovah's Witnesses. So I was like, yeah, we get Christmas. I know, selfish.
Are we feeling AltadenaTalks theme song?
Do we do what? Oh yeah. Are you happy with the results?
Am I what?
Are you happy with the results?
No, I'm talking about the other one, the original one.
I thought you were gonna play the new one.
No,
oh, you still got to get a voice from Toni.
I don't like the lyrics, and I don't like how it raps.
I liked it.
Nah.
My opinion don't count.
It does.
In fact, I'm the type of person that if you ask me, do you want to pick the red or the blue, and I pick the blue, you going with the red.
Not always. Sometimes.
You see that commercial?
We'll wait for Toni for me to play that
with
other.
Marshawn Lynch when he's sitting in the golf cart going, "Oh, you about that life, huh?" And then the dude's in the golf thing trying to hit the ball out of the brush, and he goes, "I'm going left." He don't want to take no advice from this dude. Oh my God!
All right, let's just play it. Let's wrap the show off with this.
Marcus, where you at?
Together, we grow from the ashes, but there's so much more to be done. Our eyes in the sky, the news can be frightening, but our minds, they won't be overrun. I know, it's easier to talk about the things we need to change, but there ain't nothing more that you need to know. We're Altadena Talks. We'll tell you where to go. When it's dark, there'll be a light for you from the start. We're Altadena Talks through the fire. We'll be a guide for you at your side. We're Altadena Talks. Now more than ever, we have to be clever with water, food, shelter, and love. It's hard to believe that our neighbors are in need, but they're the ones we're thinking of. I know, it's easier to talk about the things we need to change, but there ain't nothing more that you need to know. We're Altadena Talks. We'll tell you where to go. When it's dark, there'll be a light for you from the start. We're Altadena Talks through the fire. We'll be a guide for you at your side. We're Altadena Talks. gets dark, we'll be a light for you from the start. We're Altadena Talks through the fire. We'll be a guide for you at your side. We're Altadena Talks. Through the fire, we'll be a guide for you at your side. At your side, we're Altadena Talks.
Whew. All right, everybody. Thanks. Happy Thursday to you. See you tomorrow. Have a great day. Peace out.